Hello, everybody. It's Jackie with Jackie's Recent Things. Hi. So today we're going to do the Jackie weave. Once again, this is a perfect technique for your leftover mesh. Typically, depending on how big of a poof you use and things like that, it takes about 4 rolls of leftover mesh. Um, I'm going to use 2 different colors so that you can really see this come to life. We're using 21-inch mesh, and I cut the strips 10 inches long. This is jute mesh. Now, if you're using a thinner mesh, I would cut it 12 inches. Now, you're going to need 18 of each color, or a total of 36 pieces for this. Consistency is the key to making this look good. I love using leftover mesh for this because we're going to roll it up. So when you're using leftover mesh, it rolls up a whole lot easier. You're not having to fight with it as opposed to using a brand new roll. What we're going to do is basically we're going to start out with a tippy twirl. We're going to fold our mesh up. And once again, you're going to go in half with it, with your tails and everything. And then you're going to tie it in. Now I'm starting on the bottom. We're going to roll another one up. Now what we're going to do, we're not ready to fold it in half yet, because we're going to pull it through our previous. Now you want to make sure that your tails and everything stick out the same amount. So I'm going to make sure that it's in half, pinch it down, tie it into the next tie. We're going to alternate colors as we go. When I roll these up, my rolls are about 2 inches. So I'm going to go back to the tie that I left off with the tan. I'll put another black and white. Tie it in. And I'm going to pull my tails and kind of alternate them so it'll be a really good design. And once again, I'm going to come back with my tan and pull it through my black. Now, if you feel like you have to measure, the tails are about 5 inches every time. Come back to the black and white again. Fold it in half. Tie it in. Always make sure that your cut edge is on the inside of your fold or your roll. I developed this technique a long time ago because I had a bunch of 21-inch mesh, several different rolls. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? So I just got to playing. When I originally did this, I did it first on a flat frame, so it will work nicely on a flat frame also. It'll look a little bit different, obviously, as opposed to a raised frame, but it will work. Now, when I go to add my ribbon and such later on, because I'm putting, you know, a ton of effort into my wreath base, I won't add, my ribbon tails will only be about 12 inches, so it won't cover up the design of the mesh that I've created. Now, I would be careful what kind of mesh you use since you're pulling through. I wouldn't recommend using a mesh that's very snaggy. If you've worked with mesh any, your cheaper meshes will snag a lot, so it'll make it very difficult to pull through. I have used up to 4 colors, will alternate nicely, but because there is an even number of ties, you have to use an even number of colors. If you want to use an odd number, or if you have Hobby Lobby frames, you can use an odd number since there's an odd number of ties. The other reason I accidentally developed this, because when I started there wasn't videos, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to do the curl loop method. There was no videos available to show anyone. See how I'm dealing with that cut edge? I'm just going to pull it toward the inside and get it out of the way. Now we are right back where we started. So basically, every tie is going to have 2 pieces of mesh in it. So to kind of not get confused, I would recommend the first time you do this that you do it with 2 colors so you can see exactly how you're alternating and that you can make sure you're doing it properly. So let's come up here, let's go to the top. I'm going to go ahead and open my ties. Now I started with black on the bottom, I'm going to start with tan on the top. And the reason I'm doing this is because it'll have a little bit of a different appearance as far as the weave goes, which you'll see as it develops. This is also a perfect technique for those heavy signs, because when you roll the mesh up like this and you have it this thick, it's going to be very, very supportive. Again, I'm always making sure that my tails alternate to give a really good design, especially with using 2 colors. And when you're done making your base, you can go back around and just cut those little stragglers off that are sticking out, the fray pieces. As you start to come around the top, you'll see you had some gaps that weren't filled on the bottom, but you'll start to notice that they're getting filled out very nicely and that your base is getting very thick. This is a really nice base for people that like to see more mesh, less ribbon. Now this is not a base I would recommend using a fresh roll of mesh on it, because it's just easier using the end rolls because they're already rolled up. So it makes it go quicker when you're putting the base together. If they're already nicely rolled up, you're just kind of like grooming them down a little bit. For those that do this as a business, because it is leftover mesh, this mesh should have been paid for, so it's all left over. So this kind of project, for those of you that are business owners, should almost be pretty much so pure profit. That's why I like to focus on what to do with leftover materials as a business owner. You do whatever you can to help increase your profits. But it's kind of hard to do that if you don't know what to do with leftovers. Because if you don't know what to do with leftovers, well, then it's just garbage. 2 more pieces, 1 more tan and 1 more black. Now this base is not too thick, but it's not exactly ideal for screen doors. And once again, this is where we started with the tan. And there you have it. Jackie weave. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Bye, y'all.